We appreciate the State Auditor's Office giving us some time to be able to talk to you about some important changes that occurred at the Utah Retirement Systems regarding its investment earnings assumption. We know that it is getting time for auditors to start looking at the employer's GASB 68 information, and so we just wanted to make you aware in advance of what those changes were and how they affected the total pension liability. And we hope we can give you some examples as to why it changed so that you have a better understanding of what happened. Effective January 1, 2016, the Utah Retirement Systems Board approved lowering the investment return assumption, which is the discount rate, from 7.5% to 7.2%. This is the third time in the last 10 years that the rate was lowered. In 2008, we lowered it from 8% to 7.5%. In 2011, we lowered it again from 7.75% to 7.5%. And in 2016, we lowered it from the 7.5% to the 7.2%. URS actuary looks at the current economics assumptions when they do the experience or valuation studies, and they recommend increases or decreases to the earnings assumption whenever they feel it is necessary. How does the Utah Retirement Systems earnings assumption compare to other state plans? A February 2017 NASRA, which is the National Association of State Retirement Administrators, they issued a brief regarding the largest 127 pension plans in the country, and it showed that 105 plans have a higher rate than the Utah Retirement Systems. The average of the 127 plans is 7.52 compared to the 7.2% that the retirement systems is currently at. 9 plans use 7%, 1 plan uses 6.9%, 2 plans use 6.875%, 5 plans use 6.75%, and 2 plans use 6.5%. So again, you can see that we are on the lower end of what retirement systems are using for an earnings assumption. Here's a graph that takes us back to 2001, which is at the far left side, and it's interesting to look at how the earnings assumption has changed over the last 17 years. We have gone from the majority of systems being 8 or a little above, and now very few systems have 8, and you can see how that earnings assumption rate has decreased over the last number of years. The earnings assumption and the pension liability, the change in the investment assumption increased the collective net pension liability by $734 million. And what that means is our total net pension liability, because we were going to be earning less, increased by $734 million. The plan fiduciary net position as a percentage of the total liability, which was the old funded rate, went from 85.7% to 83.8%, or a 1.9% decrease. With the 2016 pension earnings, this year where we had a 8.79% return, we expect that funded ratio to be about 86. So just a little bit better than where it was at the end of last year. Here is a graph that shows how the URS funded ratio compares to the aggregate of the other pension funds around the country. As you can see, we are on the blue line, and we are in a very enviable position regarding our funded ratio. So what did lowering the earnings assumption rate from 7.5% to 7.2% do? It will increase the employer's proportionate share of the net pension liability. It will decrease employer's proportionate share of the plan net assets. It will increase the deferred outflows of resources and changes in assumption. The one thing that it will not do for the employers, it will not increase the contribution rates that the employers are paying, with the exception of one employer. So it's not going to require employers to increase their budgets. They will continue paying the contribution rates that the retirement systems have set. This is a schedule of changes in employers' net pension liability, and when individuals ask you, or you have questions as to why did the pension liability go up or why did it go down, this is where you should go to. This is in our required supplementary information, and this is the schedule of change in the employer's net pension liability. It starts off the service cost. That is what it cost to provide 1 year of service to the active members this past year. There is an interest of, this particular case, $2.2 billion. And that interest is calculated on the total pension liability at the 7.2%. Then if there were any benefit changes, that adds to it. The difference between the actual and expected experience, and then right below that, the assumption change. And so you can see that our total pension liability went up by that $734 million this year. Then it also decreases by any benefit payments that we pay out and any refunds that we pay out. Next, let's take a look at how to calculate the service cost for one particular year. This is just an example, and this is for only 1 year of service. Let's look at an average employee being 48 years old. They are going to retire at 63. Their current pay is $50,000, and the annual pay increases that the actuary is going to assume is going to happen is going to be 3.35%, and so they are going to be working an additional 15 years. So when we look at the future value of that 50,000 at the 3.35% earnings assumption for 15 years, their final average salary is going to be just about $82,000. The multiplier, 2%, and the future benefit for this particular current year of service is going to be just a little over $1,600, and that is the $82,000 times 2%. That is how we calculate the $1,600. We are going to assume that this employee is going to live till they are 84. And so there are 21 years to mortality, which is the 84 minus the 63 at the age that the actuary assumes they're going to retire. We are going to earn 7.2% on this. So the present value, or the amount that we are going to need at retirement for this individual, is $17,478. We have 15 years until they are going to start drawing that benefit. So the amount of money that we need this year right now to fund this benefit, we need $6,160. And if you look at that as a percent of this individual's pay, that is 12.32%. So we're going to be paying this $1,639 for 21 years. So we are going to be paying this year's benefit for this employee is $34,419. Here's an example as to what we need at retirement and how this is all going to work out. So if we have $17,478 when this individual retires, we are going to earn this first year $1,258. They're going to take $1,639 in the benefit. That's going to leave just over $17,000. And if you look at how that plays out for the next 20 years, at the end of 21 years, the total amount that we would have paid out will equal the amount that the actuary had assumed that it was going to be. Now let's take a look at what happens when we changed from the 7.5% to the 7.2%. The same assumptions. The individual's 48, they're going to retire at 63, their salary is 50, the annual pay increases are going to be the same, 15 years. We're going to receive the pay increases for 15 years. But because we are only going to be earning 7.2% rather than 7.5%, we need $17,478 versus $17,069. So the amount that we needed today is $6,160 versus $5,769. So in this particular case, this is a $391 loss to the retirement systems. And that is because we are not going to be earning as much as what the actuary had thought it was. So as you look at the line on the schedule of changes in net pension liability, this is one of those actuarial changes as to what happened. Next, let's take a look at what happens if an individual retires early. So basically the same set of facts, but rather than retiring at age 63, the individual retires at age 60. So their final average salary in that particular case, because there's only 12 years of pay increases rather than 15, is going to be $74,250. So the final average salary is going to be less than what the actuary thought, but the benefit in this particular case is going to be $1,485, which is less than the $1,639. The individual is still going to live till 84, but we are going to be paying out the retirement benefit 24 years rather than 21 years. And so the amount that we need now is $7,266 versus $6,160. So in this particular case, because this individual decided to retire 3 years early, this is a $1,106 loss to the retirement system, meaning that it is increasing our total pension liability. And the reason for that is because we are going to pay benefits 3 years longer than the actuary had assumed, and we are going to be receiving contributions for 3 years less. Next, let's take a look at what happens if an employee decides to work longer. Again, the same assumptions, with the exception that they are going to retire at age 67 versus 63. So you go down and you look, we're going to be receiving pay increases for 19 years. So this individual's final average salary is going to be just under $94,000 versus the $82,000 that the actuary was originally assuming. And so his benefit is going to be considerably higher. It's going to be $1,870 versus $1,639. Individual is going to live till 84, but we are only going to be paying out that retirement benefit for 17 years. So the present value that we need today is going to be $4,805 versus $6,160. So in this particular case, this is a $1,355 gain to the retirement system, and that is because we're going to be paying the benefits 4 years longer. Even though they are larger, we're going to be paying them 4 years less than the actuary had assumed, and we are going to be receiving retirement contributions for 4 years more than the actuary had assumed. So again, this is a gain to the system rather than a loss. Next, let's take a look at what happens if the salary increases aren't as much as the actuary had assumed. In this particular case, again, the same facts, same salary, but we are going to assume that the actual salary increases were 2.5%. this year versus the 3.35%. So when we look 15 years of pay increases, this individual salary is going to be $72,000 versus the $82,000 that the actuary had originally thought. So his benefit is going to be $1,448 versus $1,639. So the present value that we need today is $5,441 versus the $6,160. So in this particular case, this is a gain to the system of $718, and that is because his benefit's going to be smaller, because his salary at the time of retirement was smaller than what the actuary had originally thought it was going to be. Next, let's talk about some of the things that some of the employers are wondering about is the Tier 2 savings. So let's take a quick look here at the Tier 2 savings, and some of the employers are thinking that Tier 2 systems may need some tweaking because there's not the savings that they thought there was going to be. If you look through 2016, last year their retirement savings was $41 million, and collectively since 2011 the retirement savings have been $121 million. So they started off small at $1 million, but this year they were $41 million, and they're going to continue to grow. This is an example as to how the actuary calculates what the retirement savings because of Tier 2 actually are. If we look at the state and school division, in the non-contributory system, the contribution rate is 23.69%. For the Tier 2 public employees, it is 20.02%. So for every Tier 2 employee in the state and school system, they have a 3.67% savings on their salary. In the local governmental division, it is 1.78%. So when you look at the total covered payroll for the Tier 2 systems, for the state and school, 749 million, 264 million in the local governmental. The total savings for the state and school and local governmental divisions amounted to $32 million last year. Here is the savings for the Tier 2 public safety and firefighter systems. In the public safety, it's a little bit more pronounced. The Tier 1 contribution rate is 41.35%. In the Tier 2 public safety system, it is 30.54%. So there is a 10.85% savings every time a public safety employee is hired. So when we look at the total salary for the public safety, 77 million, for the firefighters 17 million. There was an 8 million savings for public safety and a $1 million savings for the firefighters, making the total savings $9.4 million. That combined with the public system, $41 million savings. Here is a table that shows the cumulative savings for the Tier 2 retirement systems. We started out at 1 million. 2012 we go to 7.7 million, and by 2027 cumulative savings are going to be $1.2 billion. In 2027 the savings are going to amount to $148 million for the employers through the state of Utah. Here is a graph that is showing the annual savings. You can see it started out small, but it's going to continue to grow, and you can see that by 2027 it's going to be pushing $1.2 billion. With that, we appreciate the opportunity we had of presenting this to you today, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call Rob Dolphin or myself, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. Oh, and one other reminder why we are here. When it comes time for you to ask for the confirmations, we do not automatically send the confirmations out every year because we don't know the employer's year end. So if you would just send a request and we will get that information out to you as soon as it is available. Hey, thank you.